I've had a couple of these Powerworks, basically power banks, inverter, whole setups for, I don't know, 3 years now or so, and used them on and off for a bunch of stuff. They work pretty good. The specs on this basically say it should be, according to their specs, a 45 amp hour battery. I've got the Ampere time 50 amp hour battery here that I've used, occasionally here and there. I probably got maybe 20 cycles through it, nothing much. But what I did was I added a 12 volt socket to that. This right here is a 12 volt portable cooler slash warmer. You can throw it in your vehicle. They work off a adapter, so it can run off of regular power or directly off your cigarette lighter 12 volt adapter. And this pulls about 60 watts when it runs, and I can show you that in 1 second. Now I'm going to compare. First I'm going to do this charger, and then let's put our DC on so we can see this one's at 100% here. And then we're going to turn this cooler on. You can hear the fan kick on, and you can see as it's kicking up, it's saying 61, 62 or so watts that it's drawing. And it may settle down a little bit depending on how it gets when it gets cooler or so. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a bottle of water in here, and then we're going to run it until this totally drains this. And I'm going to grab my phone. Alright, so we got 11:59, so basically 12 o'clock we're starting this. We'll see how long we can get this thing to run, and then we're going to let's see how long we can get this to run. If the specs are correct, this thing should run a little bit longer, because it's an extra 5 amp hours. But we're going to see real time, real world experience to see just how much this will hold up compared to one of these. Only because, now you can get these relatively cheap, and these were going, pretty decent on clearance, and these have come down significantly. So sometimes if it's going to cost too much for a full power bank, and you're only really going to need this type of setup with a battery, it may be better just to run, a couple 12 volt power sources off of one of these for something like that for a cooler. But I'm just curious to see what the specs are and to see what will actually come at the end of this, as far as does this actually have what the manufacturer says it has. These are pretty good. We know these have been tested tons of times on the internet by people who run various tests on them, and these Ampere time batteries, now lead time, are pretty good as far as what their specs are and what you're getting out of those batteries. So we can be fairly consistent with this one. Now I'm curious as to see what happens with this Powerworks battery bank. We have now reached 50%, and it is 4:01. So 4 hours, so halfway through. It's actually doing much better than I expected it would. Let's see. Oh yeah, water's cold. So it's doing much better than I thought. We're going to let this run out, and then tomorrow I think we're going to end up doing the test for that one, because I know this one's probably going to run longer. So if this one actually runs for 8 hours, I'm guessing probably 7.5. I got to figure that's going to run 9 or 10 hours. That's just my guess. But we're going to see. We're going to let this keep running and see what happens. Well, I just got the 10% warning. So we are looking at now 7:49. So almost 8 hours. And again, still showing 10%. I could let it go, I'm not going to though, because I don't want to go below that with this particular unit, so I am going to shut it off around here. I'm going to start the second part of the test now. We already know this one ran at 8 hours, and I basically shut it down at 10% left. So basic math tells us it'll give us probably another hour out of that. We've got about 9 hours total. This we are going to let run and see how long it goes. We're starting at 8:30, basically 8:28, so 8:30, and we're going to see how long that lasts. At 1:30, at the 4-hour mark, still going strong, which is to be expected. We're just going to keep going, see how much longer this will go. Now, the internal BMS of this will prevent this thing from going too far, draining itself too far. So I am perfectly happy with letting this run until it dies, and then we'll get the roughly about exact time of how long it went. It is now 7:30 p.m. Still going strong. Well, it just shut off at 9:20, and so that is just under 12 hours by like 10 minutes. So that is pretty impressive for this battery. I mean, if you have two of them, you could get basically 24 hours out of it. But compared to the power unit I had over there earlier, the Powerworks, this worked out much, much better. I like these a lot. I've used them before for other, projects. I've used them before for the winter water, and I used it before for my trolling motors in my boat when I had cancer. And I'm going to put a link to basically a quick description of that in the video description, or if I can figure it out, I'll stick it out in the top here somewhere. But that pretty much solidifies this compared to the Powerworks, that it's so much better, even though this is only basically supposed to be another 5 amp hours compared to the other one. This lasted so much longer. The Powerworks lasted probably what we figure 9 hours. This one went pretty much almost 12 hours. And I understand that the other one has a display adapter and everything, and the inverter and all that stuff combined. However, I could have got 2 of these for the same price of that. And if I was going to do it again, I would get 2 of these and put them in parallel,